If you're currently out looking to buy your first real estate property, this video is for you. I'm going to break down what are the 3 worst possible properties that you can buy as a first-time investment. So the first one I want to get into are condos. Condos are a really poor asset class simply because of the fact that right now, especially in this market, condos are declining rapidly. As far as real estate goes in general, real estate is starting to come down, but condos are probably coming down the fastest. A big reason for that is a lot of these condos have all kinds of assessments get tacked onto them that you may not be aware of. These assessments are dollars that you have to put towards HOA dues as well as your insurance that's going to contribute to what your overall payment is every month. So let's say you bought the condo, and when you initially bought it, your total mortgage payment was $1,000. Now you might be thinking, well, if I buy this and I can rent it out for $1,500, cool, I'll put $500 in my pocket. The problem is these assessments come out of nowhere. Here in South Florida, we had a really big situation with Surfside, and that was down in Miami, and it caused a lot of the condo rules to change because all of them now have to get these assessments added to them, and they have to do certain inspections. These inspections take place every 40 years. Well, a lot of that stuff's being cut down now. So because we have a lot of these inspections taking place, what's happening now is a lot of these condo associations are finding out that they have to do a lot more work to them, and the only way to pass off all that work they're doing is to give it to you. So what you're going to end up happening is these assessments are going to be applied to your condo property, and now you're going to have a mortgage payment of $1,000, but then you're also going to have a big HOA payment due of, instead of $200, well, now it's going to be $800. And the assessment is something that's going to have to come out of pocket up front. You could be paying $5,000, $10,000. It all depends on what exactly that assessment is that you're going to be having to pay and what the HOA tells you you're going to end up having to pay. So be very mindful when it comes to condos because these are an asset class that you may want to avoid for those reasons right there. Another one we want to get into are illegal additions. Now, what are illegal additions? So illegal additions are when someone buys a property and they do work. We call it work because it's stuff that's done without a permit, and it's done without the city or anyone knowing, because let's say they want to add some square footage, maybe they want to add a toilet, maybe they want a whole bathroom. All of these illegal additions aren't going to be allowed by the city based on Florida Building Code. Now, there is a way possibly that you could get it done after the fact and get it permitted, but we're specifically dealing with properties that you're going to be buying and you don't know about. Well, these illegal additions, while it might sound lucrative, like let's say you're buying a house and you're like, wow, it has a little guest house in the back of it, that's awesome. I actually have one of those right now. And because it is something that's in the back and it wasn't permitted by the city, what ends up happening is the city now steps in and they tell you, well, you're going to have to tear this down if you want this to be legal. Well, the problem is when you looked at that originally, you're thinking you're buying a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom with a 1-1 cottage. Well, if you remove that 1-1 cottage and all you have is a 2-1, well, think of how much property value you've lost because you've lost the income and you've lost additional square footage that you had under air. So it's incredibly important to be mindful of these properties before you buy them because it might be one you want to avoid. Okay, now another asset class you want to avoid are HOAs. We kind of briefly touched on it with condos because a lot of them are a situation in HOAs, but HOAs go much further than just condos. HOAs can be in a small community. They can be in multi-rise buildings. They're all different types of situations that you could have an HOA in. Now, HOAs are particularly crappy because HOAs are just littered with rules and people with way too much power that they don't know what to do with. So what do? They pass it on to you. And they tell you all the different things you can and can't do. Your fence is too tall, violation. Oh, you have trash outside past 10 o'clock, violation. Oh, you've got a front door that doesn't match the color paint of your neighbor, violation. They're always going to be looking for ways in which they can make money off of you because these people have nothing better to do. I'm just kidding. It's not that they have nothing better to do, but they really do have a problem in a number of situations that don't fit to a T with what their bylaws say you need to have for your property. So I always want to make sure I avoid those because what might end up happening is if you have a rental in there and let's say that renter starts to do something that they can't. Let's say they just want to put some plants outside. And you might think, well, plants might beautify the outside of my house. Well, not according to the HOA. Because it doesn't fit within the rule book that says, well, this is not 𝐎𝐂𝐇. This is not a Trinet. This is not one of the plants that we have approved to be on the outside of your house. And as a result, because that renter now tried to beautify the outside of the house, you now have a violation, or you now have a fine that you have to pay because the HOA stepped in and said that that's not allowed. And mind you, those are just little things. I mean, they can really come after you for anything. I jokingly said your trash was outside past 10 o'clock, but that is a real thing. We have that right now on a property that we have here in South Florida, where we had our trash out about 30 minutes past the time where we're allowed. Now, this one is an incredibly strict HOA, and the rules on trash are a bit ridiculous, but I bring these up because these are real things, and all these violations are sometimes going to be a really big headache. So let's say your property does cash flow, right? Where the amount of money you owe versus what you get, maybe it does cash flow and you have a good amount of income coming in. Well, if a lot of your income goes towards violations and headaches, there's definitely a value there that you always want to make sure you consider, because this is something that I can tell you right now is not necessarily worth it. If you guys enjoyed this video and you can't stand HOAs the way that I can, comment the word HOA down below, and I'm going to make sure to make more content that's just like this. And if you guys haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel and click this video card right here so you guys can see more real estate investment tips delivered right to you.